Before the crowd hears the hit, every NFL player is already trusting pounds of gear to protect a future he cannot see. The gear looks heavy because the game is heavier, built on speed, leverage, collision, and decisions made in fractions of seconds. Football did not begin with space-age helmets or custom pads. It began with courage, leather, mud, and very little protection. As the sport grew faster and more organized, one truth became impossible to ignore. Tradition alone could not keep players safe. The hard-shell helmet brought progress, but it also carried a dangerous temptation. Players began leading with protection they barely understood. Every improvement made players feel safer, and sometimes that confidence invited the next problem the sport had to solve. The face mask began as protection for the face, then became part of how players saw, tackled, and survived the game. Modern gear is not just bigger, it is measured, tested, adjusted, and chosen for the way each position absorbs force. For linemen, protection is built for repetition, because their game is not one collision, but dozens of controlled explosions. Receivers need protection without losing speed, because their danger often arrives while their eyes are still on the football. Quarterbacks wear less visible armor, but every rib protector and helmet choice carries the value of an entire franchise. Running backs carry the ball into traffic, where gear must protect balance, bones, and the one thing defenders attack first. Linebackers live between speed and violence, needing gear strong enough for contact and flexible enough for instinct. The modern NFL does not guess where contact happens. It studies angles, speed, equipment, and the body under pressure. Before a helmet reaches a locker room, it must answer a colder question. How much force can it help manage? Helmet choice became a football decision, a medical decision, and sometimes a personal battle between comfort, habit, and safety. For veterans, changing helmets can feel like changing rhythm, vision, and memory built across thousands of snaps. Every strap matters because loose gear does not just distract a player, it can turn protection into another risk. Shoulder pads are not decoration. They are engineered compromise, spreading force while allowing arms to block, tackle, reach, and catch. Some positions force gear to do two jobs at once, absorbing trench contact without stealing the movement needed downfield. Defensive backs cannot hide inside heavy armor. Their protection must be light enough to survive a single wrong step. Some gear is almost invisible, but a mouthguard can be part of how players brace for violent, unpredictable contact. Gloves help players catch, block, punch, and protect their hands, turning small details into survival at NFL speed. Protection begins at the ground, because one lost step can expose a knee, ankle, season, or career. For big men in the trenches, knees take punishment from angles fans barely see until a replay slows everything down. The most important gear is sometimes hidden, protecting quarterbacks from hits that never become part of the highlight package. Not every injury comes from a headline hit. Some come from the field itself, one landing at a time. Modern player safety is not only what athletes wear, it is who watches, checks, and sometimes removes them from the game. The league learned that toughness cannot be the only answer when the brain is the part no pad can replace. When stars like Tua Tagovailoa became part of the safety conversation, the issue moved beyond equipment rooms and medical reports. Guardian caps looked strange at first, but the idea was simple. Add another layer between repeated practice collisions. The public remembers game day hits, but players absorb hundreds of smaller practice impacts long before the broadcast begins. In football, new safety gear must overcome more than physics. It must survive pride, habit, jokes, and old ideas about toughness. When Kylan Granson wore added protection in games, he turned a locker room safety choice into a public football statement. Once extra helmet protection reached games, safety became visible to millions, not hidden behind practice gates. Position-specific helmets showed the league accepting a basic truth. Not every player gets hit the same way. A quarterback's danger often comes from falling backward. A lineman's comes from meeting force straight ahead, again and again. Behind every uniform is a rulebook, because the NFL cannot rely on tradition when bodies move this fast. Some pads disappeared from style, then returned through rules, proving protection sometimes needs enforcement, not just recommendation. Players chase every inch of speed, so the fight over gear is often a fight between protection and performance. Long after players leave, equipment staffs keep working, because one missed screw or bad fit can follow a man into contact. Gear must work in rain, cold, heat, and mud, because the NFL season does not pause for perfect conditions. In December football, gear protects against defenders and weather, because cold can steal grip, feeling, and reaction time. The same armor that absorbs contact can trap heat, making conditioning and medical awareness part of modern player safety. Special teams once carried some of football's most violent running starts, forcing safety debates beyond helmets and pads. The league eventually learned that not every safety answer is worn. Some are built into the shape of the play. Film study is not only for touchdowns. It also reveals habits, angles, and techniques that put bodies in danger. Equipment can reduce risk, but technique decides whether a player turns protection into discipline or danger. In the trenches, hands are weapons, knees are targets, and protection depends on details too fast for casual eyes. Sometimes player safety comes down to seconds, a sideline repair, and the calm hands of someone outside the spotlight. When a helmet comes loose, the whole field changes, reminding everyone that protection only works when it stays where it belongs. Rules cannot remove violence from football, but they can decide when the game must stop protecting the show and protect the person. What happens in the NFL eventually reaches younger players, where better habits can begin before bad ones harden. The NFL is not isolated. College programs, equipment companies, and medical research all shape what eventually appears on Sundays. The best gear is not designed from theory alone. It is shaped by players who know exactly where football hurts. A helmet that fits one player perfectly may fail another, which is why modern protection starts with the individual head. A quarterback must throw, a tackle must absorb, a linebacker must chase. Their pads tell the story before the snap. No sport asks more different bodies to share one field, which makes universal protection impossible and customization essential. Pass rushers turn speed into force, and every piece of gear must survive movement that looks almost impossible in slow motion. For quarterbacks, protection is measured in trust, because they must stare downfield while danger arrives from places they cannot see. No equipment can make a receiver invincible in mid-air, where courage, timing, and landing all become part of safety. The sideline looks harmless on television, but at full speed, it becomes a narrow strip where bodies run out of options. For ball carriers, gear protects more than bones. It helps protect possession when 11 defenders attack the same mistake. At the goal line, football becomes compressed violence, and the heaviest gear finally looks exactly as necessary as it is. After the final whistle, the gear tells a quieter story, scratched by hits fans already forgot. A helmet does not stop being important after impact. Every scratch becomes evidence equipment staff must understand before the next game. Modern protection does not end with pads. Recovery rooms became part of the same fight to keep players available. The strongest protection a player owns is still his body, trained to absorb, redirect, and survive force. A helmet protects the head, but trained muscles help control how that head moves when football stops being predictable. Player safety is no longer one department's problem. It sits between coaching, medicine, equipment, scheduling, and competitive pressure. The hardest safety decisions happen when a player says he is ready, and the people protecting him must disagree. Coaches talk around injuries because behind every update is a person, a roster plan, and an opponent listening carefully. The evolution of gear is also a labor story, shaped by players demanding standards for the risks they carry. Every new piece of protection carries the shadow of older players who played before the game knew what it knows now. The old game proved toughness. The modern game asks whether toughness can survive with better information. Safety is expensive before it becomes visible, paid for in testing, inventory, staff hours, and constant replacement. Before a road team boards the plane, its protection travels too, packed, counted, checked, and trusted by every player. On the road, comfort disappears quickly, but gear must feel familiar when the stadium around a player does not. By the time players reach the tunnel, the gear is no longer equipment. It is part of how they enter danger. Fans used to notice jerseys first. Now helmets, visors, gloves, and soft covers tell their own story. For many players, gear becomes ritual, because routine is one way to create control before chaos begins. Rookies learn quickly that the NFL is faster, stricter, and less forgiving than the game they thought they knew. Veterans teach rookies that protection is not weakness. It is how a player earns the chance to keep playing. Every warning, flag, and coaching correction reminds players that the league is constantly negotiating the line between violence and skill. The helmet is protection, not permission, and coaches spend hours teaching players not to weaponize it. Modern defenders are still asked to be violent, but now they must be violent with precision. What looks strange in September can become normal by January, because football culture changes one visible choice at a time. Every safety innovation faces the same public question: does it protect the game or make the game look different? Football has always protected its traditions, but survival has required the courage to update the armor. Now the gear finally makes sense, not as excess, but as a map of every danger the sport discovered. Every position wears a different answer to the same question: how do you play faster without paying forever? One snap exposes everything: engineering, coaching, rules, pain tolerance, and the trust players place in protection they barely notice. The best protection is often invisible in the box score, measured by the player who gets up and plays the next down. Gear cannot remove the cost of football, but it can give players a better chance to carry that cost home. That opening hit was never just violence. It was the result of a century spent trying to make violence survivable. When the room goes quiet, the gear remains, holding the evidence of what football asks from those who play it. The next breakthrough will not make football painless, but it may help another generation play with better answers. The scoreboard tells who won. The gear tells what football learned, and what every player still risks beneath the lights.